Hey, I'm Patty with AldermanFarms. In collaboration with the Homesteaders of America, we're going to have part 2 of our high tunnel and garden tour. First off, I want to start right here, right when you come in the gate, with our comfrey. It is doing amazing. I've already made comfrey tea once, and I've used some of it on my tomato plants and my green beans, and I've been very pleased with, I really have seen a difference in the green beans. I don't know about the tomatoes yet. But the green beans have definitely put on more blooms and greened up. They had started looking quite yellow.
Patty, didn't all of that comfrey come from one plant that we got from old Alabama gardener?
It did. This is about 10 plants here, and I've given at least 3 or 4 plants away. So it really has multiplied wonderful, and it's only been about 4 years. I was looking at that. Right here, I showed you before our grapevines that we put on the arch.
Muscadines.
Oh yeah, muscadines. We did have grapevines, but I lost it. But anyway, I was hoping they would do a little more climbing than they've done this year, but maybe next year they will climb even higher and I'll have more muscadines, or have muscadines. I don't think I'll have any this year. I haven't seen any blooms. Right here is one of the plum trees that we got at the tree sale, our local tree sale that they have every year. They have them in numerous states, so you need to check with your local extension office or NRCS office and ask them about it. It's usually in January or February. Anyway, they have done wonderful. We got 3 plum trees. We did lose one. This is another plum tree over here. Of course, we won't get plums this year or probably even next year, but maybe in the next year we'll have some plums. But I've been very, very pleased with how they're growing. They put on leaves immediately after we got them in the ground, so they're growing really good. I think all the trees we got from them have done wonderful. We've lost 1 tree. So this is there was an empty box on the last garden tour that Tommy, I think, had just built.
For Mother's Day.
Yeah, and so I planted bush green beans in here. As you can see, it's full of grass too. But I can get in here. This grass will come out really easy. See, it comes right out of the boxes. And this is actually 6 rows in an 8-foot box. So it's like 6 times 8 is 48. It's like a 48-foot row in an 8-foot by 4-foot box. All right, I told you about the green onions that I'd gotten from a pawpaw, and they'd bloom, and they're starting to die back now, which as they start falling over, then it'll be time to dig them. And you actually dig them up and let the bulbs dry for next year, and then I'll plant them out. They're multiplying onions, so I'll have twice as many or 4 times as many as I have right now. This row is our squash row. I didn't plant squash for the market. I planted squash for us, and it has been plenty. I haven't put any up yet. I did sell a little bit, even though I didn't do it for the market. And I wanted to mention too, our slogan is where life on the farm just got real. Where grass is real, y'all. We had it looking all nice for the last video. We haven't done anything with the grass since then. So anyway, it's pretty grassy. We need to come out here with the weed eater. We don't do a lot of hoeing. We use the weed eater.
Tropical storms are real too.
Yeah.
And so if you're getting some wind noise, I hope you're not, but you may be getting a lot of wind noise because we're filming this video on Sunday, June the 7th. It'll go live in the morning, or it'll publish in the morning. But we are catching the outer bands of Tropical Storm Cristobal. So forgive the wind noise, please.
About 10 yellow squash plants, and from what I found, it's just mainly me and Tommy eating now. Our daughter Carly Ann is home right now for a little while, but I have found 2 to 3 squash plants is plenty enough for a meal, sometimes even to have some left over. You know, I've cooked for 6 for so many years. It's hard to cook for 2. I don't care for squash left over though, so I'm seeing, you know, it's a different time in our life where things are changing. So I do have some zucchini squash on further down. This is my row of heirloom tomatoes. In the high tunnel I planted Big Beef, which is a hybrid, and these are my heirloom tomatoes right here along this fence, and I have pinned some of them up, and I use these little clips like this to clip them up, which this one's dry rotted. We use black ones now. We like them a lot better. But they're really doing good. And I just noticed I didn't realize I had tomatoes, but I have a little tomato here. So they're all different varieties here. I have my little sticks in the ground somewhere. But anyway, I'm really thrilled to see that I have some actual tomatoes coming on. This is a little trellis that we have our spaghetti squash on. I actually put out 4 plants and only 3 lived. I've already picked 1 spaghetti squash, and I have 2 smaller ones right here. You know that they're ripe when they turn yellow like this. And so here's another one right here. And when it turns yellow like that, it'll be ready to be picked. This is a little short, I guess it's about 6 foot, 7 foot of rattlesnake pole beans. I also got these from old Alabama gardener. He had brought them to one of the conferences we were at, and I've had them for a couple of years, and I'm very pleased with the stand. Now, they are a pole bean, so I have this little trellis that I picked up, marked down. It's really thin stuff, but I hadn't ever put it to use, and so I've tried it out on here. But so they're doing really great. Well, we were going to skip the watermelon because it is so grown up with grass, but Tommy saw a little baby watermelon, so we're going to show it to you anyway. So we have not weeded this at all, but look at this. It's a baby watermelon. This is called Moon and Stars, and this is a very, very old time watermelon. I had one last year, and it's so good. It's an heirloom, and so there's quite a few of these little runners that's coming out, and they have watermelons on them. So I'm so excited to have watermelon. I believe in the last garden tour we were talking about the garlic. I was wanting to call it okra, but it's not okra, it's garlic. It was starting to bloom, and it is still blooming. I have dug 2 garlic from right here. You're not pointing the camera.
Sorry.
Anyway, I've dug 2 garlic from right here because it had died down like this. And so I want this stalk to die down a little more before I dig these. I probably could go ahead and dig it right now, but I'm waiting a little bit longer. I need to come out and get these that are dead. Okay, if you remember, we only had 1 blueberry bush out here by the high tunnel that had blueberries, and really not sure exactly why. And it's still the only one that has blueberries, and it's going to be the only one that has blueberries this year. Maybe next year I can do some better with fertilizing and everything. But anyway, I have picked up maybe 2 berries off of this, and these will be turning soon. Probably after this next rain, they'll go ahead and start turning. Okay, this is a row that we had cleared. I'm not sure if I had planted the okra or not, but this is called dwarf okra, and I've got a very good stand of it. I really need to thin it, and I think what I'm going to do is, as I dig up my garlic, I'm going to thin these plants and try and move them over there. Don't always work transplanting okra. They're kind of delicate, but it's worth a shot anyway. These are some strawberries that I had out there in the row. I thought I lost most of them, and I've done the green stalk garden planter, and I filled it up with strawberries, and I actually had some left, so I put them in here. One thing, this is another one I picked, and if you want to see, it has been eaten on. That's what I like so much about the green stalk planter. This don't happen in it. Well, here is our first 2 rows of tomatoes. These are big beef tomatoes. They have been doing wonderful, and they are huge. If you look, I'm about 5'7". I cannot reach to the top. I have clipped them up as high as I can possibly reach, and they're up there. So my question is, to top or not to top? Which, if you don't know what that means, do I just cut the plant off at the top, just let the rest of these ripen, or do I go through the trouble of picking the bottom tomatoes and then letting the tomato down where I can reach? Because you see, I have tomatoes growing way up here. So,
and there's blooms higher than that.
There's blooms higher than that, and honestly, we are into the 80s. Sometimes when you get to be in the 80 to 90 degrees, they won't set tomatoes, so it may be getting close to the time that I do need to top them and not worry about trying to set more blooms in the fall, just plant more tomato plants.
Now, technically, the string is designed for letting them down, right?
Yes, that's what this system is for, is to be able to let them down or either slant them to the side. One thing though, we haven't been putting out many videos. It's because I've been very busy. one thing I'm very busy doing is coming out here and looking at my tomato plants. If you can see the holes in this tomato plant, it's because, oh, and here is what's making the holes. Can you come close, Tommy?
Yeah.
I've got to come out here every day, and I haven't been coming every day.
Oops,
You see that these little bitty worms. And when they're really small worms like that one, they make little lacy patterns. Are you showing it? On here, like that. So I know there's a small worm there. This one is actually eating holes in it because it's a bigger worm. As they get bigger, they eat my tomatoes, which makes me very unhappy. But I do come out, and I haven't put anything on the tomatoes at all except diatomaceous earth. I've tried to be totally organic, and I know that there's organic sprays, and I did use some last year. I'm really trying not to do that because it is harmful to the bees and the bumblebees. And so diatomaceous earth can be too. But I've gotten this little thing, watch. I can squirt my tomatoes like that, and that does help deter the worms, and I can keep it away from my blooms up higher. But and also we have gotten a black lit flashlight, and black light flashlight. Anyway, you come out when it is pitch dark and you shine that light, and those hornworms glow.
I mean, glow.
It's amazing, and we haven't done it in a while, Tommy. We need to do that tonight.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost as if they've been injected with glow in the dark stuff. It's crazy how they just glow.
Now we're going to go over to the other row, and I'm going to show you what some bigger worms have done to my tomatoes. And you know, I know sometimes up in the northern states you may not have as many worm problems and stuff like that. I think it's more when it's in the south where it's hot. So you may not have this problem, but you see, this tomato is totally ruined with the holes in it right there. That's those little worms that I showed you. When they get bigger, this is what they do.
Point out the droppings on the leaf below it.
Yeah, you can see their poop right there. And even when they're eating on a branch, if you see poop on this leaf, you know to look up here at this branch, and there's another one right there. So right here is worse damage. And I'm thinking this could be a hornworm because the whole...
No, it's not.
It's not?
No. You know how I know?
How you know?
I killed it a while ago.
What was it?
Big brown
big
one.
old brown worm? Yeah. And so see this... This tomato is a total loss. It's got a very, very deep hole there. Sometimes when the holes are like this, or even like this, they'll scab over. Of course, I can't sell that tomato, but Tommy and I can eat it, you know. But when it's deep in there like that, it's just a total loss. Well, if you like fried green tomatoes, it would be okay. But
I see another badly damaged one on the next bush.
You do? Oh yeah, I saw that too. I wanted to look at that a little closer. Yeah, look at that. Did you get this worm too?
No.
Look. And so this is the worst I've gotten out of here. I've really been staying really on top of the worms, but I spend a lot of time, y'all. It takes me probably an hour. I walk up and down every row looking at the leaves. Now I don't turn every leaf over. I look to see if I see poop, and I look to see if I see holes in the leaves, and then I investigate further, and I try and look at the tomatoes themselves too. But
I see a worm.
Where?
Next plant.
Next plant?
Yep.
Is it a big brown one?
Yeah. Up. Right there to the right. Now go in. Up. Right there.
I don't see a worm. You see a worm?
Yeah, it's underneath that. It's behind that leaf. Do y'all see it? Let me zoom in. Hang on, let me zoom in.
Okay.
So they'll know I'm telling the truth. Y'all see it?
I don't see a worm.
All right, go back to where you were. To the right, one leaf. Right there. That was from 4 tomato plants away, ladies and gentlemen.
And I'll say I'm sorry to my friend Jolene that thinks I should collect all of them and feed them to my chickens. I don't always have time to do that. But anyway, the chickens do like them. So, And I'm seeing, bring it closer, Tommy. I know this is not learn about worms eating your tomatoes.
Well, no, but
anyway,
it's, life on the farm is real.
This is some poop droplets right there.
That looks like a hornworm.
That's what I was going to say. This looks more like a hornworm, which is the green worm. It's right there. And so the hornworm should be somewhere above it. But I don't know how long that poop's been there. It's best to check first thing in the morning. And the hornworms are so hard to see because they're green.
But boy, when you come out with that black light at night, and the darker it is at night, the better, easier it is to find them.
We're going to have to remember to check this plant over really good for a hornworm tonight. So, you see, I have lots of ripe tomatoes. If Tommy can kind of span it, there's a lot of ripe tomatoes. I'm fixing to get in here. They're not perfectly ripe, but I'm fixing to get in here and pick the ripest ones. Because we're having the storm come, I don't want my ripe tomatoes blown on the ground, and we kind of have going back and forth of whether we should close the tunnel or leave it open. Tommy kind of thinks we ought to leave it open. I'm scared it's going to even knock the green ones off. I picked up 2 green ones earlier, right when I walked in here, that were on the ground already. So I'm kind of scared to leave it open, but y'all, it's, what degrees is it? It is...
Yeah, that's my concern.
It's 81 right now. If we were to close it up, it would be 100
and
degrees in here.
And it's hotter than that in here.
In no time, so...
And the rule of thumb is you either leave it all the way open or you close it all the way. So we wouldn't have the option of partially closing it to allow the heat. No, you have to, right.
Because of the wind and everything, if you were to do something partial, it could actually pick it up and blow it away, so, or, damage it. So we either have to do all or nothing, and as of right now, there's no way we could close it, so I'm going to have to come out here and pick tomatoes. Okay, this is my green velvet okra. I have this little partial row, and then I have a partial row over there. This should be all Tommy and I need to eat. It's doing wonderful. I was battling ants at first, but I put a lot of diatomaceous earth, and I put coffee grounds. They say that ants don't like coffee grounds, and so I put coffee grounds around them and the diatomaceous earth, and I don't seem to be having a problem anymore. And so we've eaten okra one time, and I sold a little bit of okra, so we'll be eating okra very soon again.
Well, I've heard about that coffee thing, and you remember I was telling you I found some ants in the beehive. Not like a ton of ants, but just a few. So we keep our coffee grounds. We pile it up in a big bucket to either add to the compost or something. So we had a gallon old ice cream bucket, and so I came and mounded it out around the legs of the beehive, and for a day or two it seemed like magic. Guess what I saw out there yesterday?
Ants?
Ants, yeah. So I don't know if you have to freshen it.
Is this coffee ground still there?
The coffee grounds are still there. So I may have to go buy my own cinnamon and try cinnamon.
Okay, and I told you all about my cucumbers. These are Monica cucumbers. I learned about them from the Pratts. They're wonderful for making dill pickles and sweet pickles, and you can pick them at all different sizes. And so we just loved them last year. I pick them this size. I pick them even smaller. I even pick them this size sometimes. And then you can have regular dill pickle size. But they're just very prolific. I don't know how many pounds I've picked from in here, but a lot. I have picked so many, and I've sold them at the farmer's market too. I have, I guess, about 15 or 20 foot of them, and I double plant. I make my rows a little wider, and I double plant. So it's like, if this is 20 foot, it's like having a 40-foot row because I planted on both sides of my trellis.
Tell them how quickly they grow.
They grow very quick. I picked these Thursday evening, and I didn't leave. The only ones that I left were the really small ones, like this size, and maybe some this size. And they've already grown. Today is Sunday. So in 3 days, I've got cucumbers this size. So they're very prolific. Okay, this is my Louisiana purple pod green beans. I believe I was picking them the last time we did the video. They have went through a more of a dormant stage, and they'll do that. They'll put on a bunch of fruit, and you pick it, or I guess it's fruit, beans.
Beans.
Anyway, you pick them, pick, and then they kind of go through a little null there. And so that's what they've done. And you can see they've put on a bunch of more blooms. And here's a little baby green bean. But I have already picked them 2 times. And the last time I got a gallon. And so the next time I pick, I expect I'll get, you know, at least 2 gallons. So they are very prolific bean. I love Louisiana purple pod green beans. All right, this is one of our box gardens back here in the back of the garden. Starting out right in the front, this is parsley that we planted. And it just, you know, it seemed like it took forever to start growing, and it is just doing amazing now. I've actually picked some of it and brought it to market. This is holy basil. It doesn't look like regular basil. In fact, I've planted this before, and I thought it was a weed and pulled it up because it looks very similar to a weed we have, but it is definitely basil. It smells so good. But anyway, it doesn't have the shiny leaves like the other basil. And this is some bell pepper plants that I have, and they are blooming. They're doing wonderful. This one is stunted. I mean, it's shorter right here. I actually had something, it was cut, it just had a few leaves on it, and it was cut completely off. I left it, and you see it's made a new top. So I'm very glad that it did that. I wasn't sure if it would or not. I thought maybe it would grow out from the sides, but it's actually growing back from the top. So I'm happy about that. And then this is another bell pepper and another bell pepper here. Right here is French American melon that we have grown before, and we got to taste one that was amazing, and then it started raining. And with cantaloupes, any kind of melon, if they get a lot of water, they don't have a lot of taste, or no taste in this situation. But anyway, so that's why we decided to put them in the high tunnel where we can control the water. And so we're so excited to see how this is going to grow. If you'll notice, this has grown up and fallen down. It needs to come back up and wrap around the top some more. But anyway, it is really growing good. All right, this is 3 eggplants, 1, 2, 3, and they are doing so good. I have a problem with eggplants sometimes. I've never been real successful at growing them. And these are the long purple eggplant. But you see I have a bloom here, and there's other blooms coming. So I'm hopeful that I'll get to have some eggplant. Right here is sweet banana peppers. I have, I think, 3 plants of them.
I think I see a little pepper.
Yeah, there's they have blooms on them.
No, but look below, down, right where the V is, yeah.
Oh yeah, look at that. And I want to show you in the box garden, it's so easy to weed. I've always been a box gardener. We went to rows in the high tunnel, and it is fairly easy to weed them too because we don't have the rain pounding down on them. But I've always liked doing the boxes because it's very easy to weed. And this is our box garden of lettuce and dill. You can see the lettuce is getting kind of tall. I pick it as it's getting taller. If it starts tasting bitter, we don't pick it. We don't eat it. But honestly, the lettuce that was over there by the cucumbers, it got very tall, and I was still picking it, and I never found that it got bitter. This is some head lettuce that I tried to do, but it never did have like a full head, and so I didn't pick it to a whole head to sell at the market because I just wasn't pleased with the looks of it. But I did pick leaves off of it to sell. And I've also picked some of my dill to bring to market. And pretty soon it will start making the flowers, and that's where you'll get the dill seed from. But I have picked off the younger stems down at the bottom, and that's what I've put in my refrigerator pickles. And the dill leaves taste just as good as the dill seed. Well, thank you for joining us in a garden tour today. And thank you to the Homesteaders of America for inviting us to be a part of this garden collaboration. Go over to the Homesteaders of America and check out their playlist. They have probably 2 playlists right now, or maybe they're all doing it all in one, because this is part 2 of our garden tour. And check out all the other gardeners. I really had a fun time seeing what everybody else was doing the same time we were. And I'm looking forward to going and seeing their new videos. I hope I'm not the only one with a little bit of grass in the garden. But anyway, give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't. Hope you have a great day.